Yo, what is going on YouTube? I am Germ here. Today I wanted to have a little bit of a discussion video around Cloud9 and centering around Blaber more specifically. This is a very kind of hotly debated topic with people with very strong opinions on both sides. So this is actually something that's maybe a little bit hard to talk about, but these are the discussions that I like having, clearly on this channel. This is not anything I've shied away from, controversial opinions or, just unpopular opinions or whatever, but I wanted to talk about whether or not Cloud9 should move on from Blaber, whether they should consider moving on from Blaber, or anything like that in this next coming offseason. I've seen more and more people talking about this. Yes, this man is the spring split MVP, the reigning MVP, but once again, he's having a little bit of a down summer split, and these comments are popping up more and more. So there's just a lot to talk about. Should they move on from him? Who should they replace him with? Where would Blaber end up? I don't know. There's a lot of stuff to talk about. Definitely drop a like if you guys do enjoy this video. I would appreciate it so much. Subscribe to stay up to date on all my latest content, and consider checking out my Patreon over at patreon.com/IamGerm if you want to go above and beyond, help and support me, my content, and my channel. With that being said, here we go. So again, it's been a crazy couple of years for Blaber. He takes over as the Cloud9 starting jungler. He wins MVP of 2020 Spring Split. He wins the 2020 Spring Split. There's no MSI. Fast forward to summer, he comes in as the reigning MVP, the reigning LCS champion, and he does not look that great in summer. All of a sudden, Santorin really passed him up as the best jungler in the LCS, and there was real cases to be made whether Blaber was even the second best jungler in the LCS after 2020 summer. But it was a bad split for Cloud9 as a whole. It was hard to really point fingers. Was Blaber being bad? Was the whole Cloud9 team being bad? In a team game like League of Legends, sometimes it's very obvious, but sometimes it can be a little bit hard to tell if someone's team is holding them back or if they're holding their team back, especially such a team-centric position such as jungle. But then, coming to 2021, expectations are renewed. There is now Perks in the mid lane for Cloud9. That Perks Blaber duo has so much hype. People are so excited about it. It's supposed to be so crazy, so fast-paced, so aggressive, and so just good and dominant, and the best mid-jung duo in the LCS by far. And in the spring split, we saw that a little bit. Perks maybe wasn't as dominant as people expected, but Perks was probably the best mid laner in spring. Blaber was definitely the best jungler in spring. He wins another MVP. He wins another LCS title, and this time actually gets to go to MSI. But man, MSI was ugly, and it was really Blaber kind of getting exposed in front of big audiences. So many people who don't watch the LCS had never really seen Blaber before. They'd heard about him. They knew he was a two-time MVP. They knew he was a two-time champion. They knew he's this new, young, up-and-coming, what so many people were saying is the best North American player, the best North American talent, and he really laid an egg at this last MSI. In so many games where Cloud9 was a single play or a single series of plays or a single team fight or a single moment away from winning games and having a really good performance internationally, especially for a North American team, Blaber, time and time again, came up small. He did not make the plays. He inted. He had terrible deaths. He got memed on. And it was really weird. It was really bad. But then, again, another chance to redeem himself, just like last year, coming in as the defending LCS champion, the reigning MVP of the league, is like a carry jungler meta. It seemed like everything was lining up good for Blaber and Cloud9, but once again, they are laying a little bit of an egg. If we take a look at the LCS standings right now, Cloud9, who came in ranked number 1, again, those records carry over from the spring split to the summer, which is actually in favor of Cloud9. They actually started out ahead of everyone else headed into the summer split, but now they are 2 games back of second place. They are 3 games back of first place, and I believe there's only like 6 games left to play, so they they very may well end up as the 3rd best team, the 4th best team, even ending up as a 5th best team if Liquid starts to make some moves is not completely out of the question, and that is really crazy. And Blaber has once again really looked like a shell of himself in the summer as compared to the spring. Why is this? Why does Blaber start out the year so hot, and why does he fade off? Why did he look so bad internationally? And in the end, does Cloud9 need to, or should they at least consider moving on from Blaber? I mean, that sounds pretty insane, moving on from a 2-time MVP. He's won 2 out of the last 3 MVP awards. He's won 2 out of the last 3 LCS titles. But it's not completely unprecedented. I'm thinking back to when we've seen something like this before, and actually TSM and Doublelift. When Doublelift was kind of in his prime and TSM was winning everything, and they were just going to Worlds and coming up short, just like Cloud9 went to MSI and came up short. They actually moved on from Doublelift, and Cloud9 didn't even make it to Worlds last year. That is another thing to keep in mind. Even in in a year where Blaber looks like one of the best players in the LCS. He didn't even lead his team to Worlds last year. TSM moved on from Doublelift, and that move didn't go well. Obviously, Doublelift went on to Team Liquid. He won a bunch of titles, but TSM still made that decision. You can see why the argument could be there. When we take a look at the stats and everything, I mean, this was Blaber in the spring. He had a 5.1 KDA. He was the second best KDA, only behind Santorin. He had second best kill participation. He had such good stats at 10 minutes, second best gold differential, second best experience differential, the best CSD. And what was crazy to me, damage per minute, he was first place in damage per minute, and it was not even close. And he was first place in damage share, and it was not even close. But again, fast forward to Summer Split, where Blaber is no longer clearly the best jungler. He's actually much more of a middle of the pack jungler, which is such a fall from grace for him. In terms of KDA, he is right in the middle at 3.5. Kill participation, he's also right in the middle at 72.6%. His early game stats are honestly still pretty decent. Gold differential at 10 is not great, but his XP differential at 10 is solid. CSD at 10 is number 1, but where he has fallen off a little bit is in terms of damage per minute. Even though carry junglers are more popular in this Summer Split, Blaber is sitting just in the middle of the pack in terms of damage per minute, and his damage share is down as well. He is no longer, clearly the huge carry for Cloud9 that he maybe was before. Now these numbers are a little bit skewed because of contract and Dardoch, but there are guys ahead of him like Zergzay, Iconic, or Acadian, who have kind of passed him up. And even if he's like, yeah, second, third, fourth team, you can make a case, he's not clearly number 1 like he was before. And there are potentially big moves that Cloud9 could go out and do. There is guys like Yankos who are going to be on the market. There is guys like Self-Made who are going to be on the market. There is other up-and-coming junglers. Cloud9 is a team who in the past we have seen, buy low and sell high on players. And Blaber would for sure fetch a pretty penny on the open market. Could they sell him to a European team? I don't know. That'd be a little bit of a stretch, but could they sell him off to maybe a Team Liquid? Would that be an interesting kind of swap where Team Liquid is probably going to be looking for a jungler with Santorin and Armeo both having expiring contracts. Would one of the other upcoming teams want to just buy out Blaber and build a new team around him like we've seen maybe some teams do in the past? I don't know. It could be interesting, but Cloud9, a team who, for a while they were just trying to win LCS titles. Now they've won a couple of titles. Always that next step, that next stage is going to be international competition. And so far, with Blaber being the best player on Cloud9, being the MVP player, being the face of the franchise, Cloud9 has not made it to 2020 Worlds, and Blaber has been a big disappointment at 2021 MSI. So all of a sudden, you start getting these questions of like, is Blaber really the guy for this team? Is he really the guy to build around? Is he really the man in the jungle for Cloud9, or do they maybe need to move on? Now, obviously, it would be a little bit difficult to import a jungler. They'd have to, figure out what's going on with Sven. Maybe Sven gets his green card. Maybe they go with King and AD carry, but they definitely have options. And I don't know, if Blaber keeps being as inconsistent as he is, you never know. It's just crazy because at his peak, he is one of the best, if not the best players in the LCS, but then just randomly, he goes from that to just not a good player at MSI, and really in the LCS Summer Split right now, not a good player. In a region that doesn't even have very many good junglers, Blaber all of a sudden looks pretty pedestrian, and for me that's concerning. And I think Cloud9 is in a very, very tough spot. I think if you hang on to Blaber, that has some downside, but if you move on from him, that has some downside as well. And I totally get why there's people on both sides of this discussion, but trust me guys, I'm getting more and more comments every single day saying that Cloud9 should consider moving on from Blaber, and I don't agree with them, but I don't disagree with them either. But that is pretty much it for this video today, guys. Tell me, drop a like if you did enjoy it. I would appreciate it so much. I would love to get your guys' thoughts and opinions. Do you think Cloud9 should move on from Blaber in 2022, or should they hang on to him? Is he really that centerpiece of the franchise that they should continue building around? Subscribe to stay up to date on all my latest content. Consider checking me out on Patreon, patreon.com/IamGerm. Hopefully catch you guys in the next one. But until then, peace!